All right, so here's the next video. We're going to make this spine piece. So the very first thing you got to do is divide this into, we're going to have 5 sewing stations. You can also have an even number, so it's really up to you, but this first one, I'm going to just do it this way with 5 sewing stations. And so what we got to do is divide this piece into the 5. So the first thing I'm going to do is just at the head and tail, come in 5/8 of an inch. And I'm just doing this on my mat. You can also use your ruler, your metal ruler to do it. But I'm just putting 5/8 of an inch at the head or tail, whichever. And then at the other end, same thing, come in 5/8 of an inch. And I'm just making like just a single tick mark. And then I'm going to find the center of this piece. This is 5.5, so I know it's going to be 2 3/4 is going to be my center mark. So I could find that on here. There's 2 and then 3/4 is that. That's half of 5.5. And you can also, I'll be honest, there are so many times that I just find, like I'll just look at my mat and I'll just look at the distance between like this, and then that's my center point. Make this even and make this even. You can measure things that way if you're better at doing that, and then doing the dash marks, for the inches and 1/4 inches and 1/8 and all that stuff. If you're not good at that part, that's okay. Just do it by eye. So 5/8 of an inch on each end. That you do need to measure, but you can also do a 1/2 inch. You just want it to be even, and you want to come in a little bit. You don't want to be too far up at the head and tail of the book. So this is what we're doing right here, is these stations in the cover. We're going to cut these slits. Okay, so but then I have to divide this space so that you've got 3 marks on here. So I'm going to divide between the first 2, and this is one of those times where I'm going to just eyeball it by putting it on the mat. And just find, I'm making it equal distance on each side of that tick mark. And then I just make a tick mark there between them. Same thing on this end. And that's that. Okay. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and do it on that side. And I'm going to go ahead and do it on this side too. I'm going to transfer these across to the other side. I just feel like that'll be easier. So I'm just laying this on the line on my mat, and wherever that one is, I'm just going to go straight across to the one on top like that. If that makes sense. I hope you guys can see that. And then the last one is here, and I'm just going to go here. Okay. So I've got my 5, hold that up like that. Hopefully you can see that. So I've got my tick marks, and now, oops, I forgot to do this one. Just lay that down on a line and then carry it across like that. Okay. So then I am gonna, on the long sides, I'm gonna come in just like a 1/16 of an inch on each side, and I'm gonna draw a line. So first thing you can do is connect where we made those 2 dash marks at each section, at each little interval. You can just make a line like that to connect them. Like that. And then down the vertical, come in just a 1/16 of an inch. So like this. Come in just like a 1/16 here. And I'm eyeballing that, I'm just looking head and tail here and here to look, it looks even, and then I'm just going to make a pencil line. And then I'll turn it over and do the same thing. 1/16 of an inch. And then pencil line down. Okay, so now I'm going to punch holes where those lines intersect. So if you look here, so you've got these 2 lines that run down vertical, and they're crossing across those little horizontal dashes across the width of it. And where they intersect, that's where I'm going to put a hole. And I suggest airing on the inside of that. So if you're putting your needle in, it's going to go in like that and then punch down. So you're going to do that at every interval. Just punch a little hole. And if you thought, you know, if you like this binding and you thought, I'm going to make a lot of these, you would just hold on to this piece because you could reuse it for sure. Just punching holes on the other vertical side. Okay. So this is going to be the head of my book. And I'm going to mark this as with an H. I'm not sure it matters because I think this is pretty symmetrical because that's how I did it. But just in case, you know, I just want to be able to keep things consistent, especially when I'm getting ready to sew. Yeah, I just want to make sure it's consistent. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this into the cover right in that little station that we created, that little section for the spine. I'm going to lay that right in there. And now I'm just going to transfer those holes. So I just made them into the little punching jig, and now I'm going to transfer them to the cover. So I just go through and punch each one. And really, you're just trying to make a pinprick. It doesn't matter right now what size they are, as long as you can see the hole. And you won't know until you get there or get done, because you don't want to move it. Like keep going down and do all of them. Okay, and then you can take it out, and you probably hard to see, but you can see these holes here. Okay, all the way down. So now I'm going to go with my awl or my needle, whichever I've got, and I'm going to really open those holes. So I'm going to like push all the way through. And this is now you don't want to use some big awl that's thick. Okay, so just be careful with that you're not making like an 1/8 of an inch hole if you can help it. But you know, it's more like a 1/16 of an inch. What you really want this slit that we're going to cut to be is about the thickness of the thread that you're using. You know, that's like the craft end of it. You're going to do that. But you're just going to go through and punch each one of these holes. And we're making kind of the rough version of this structure using, you know, kind of these found covers and using recycled materials and stuff like that. There's a much more formal structure that you can do, and it's really beautiful. So we could learn that too, but it's more complicated. And at the end of the semester, I kind of feel like, let's do something that we can be a little more laid back about. But we're still being craftspeople. We're being very aware of the quality of the work that we're doing. We want that, but at the same time, we're not trying to make, you know, like really formal structures right here. We're using the same processes, but in the end, we're punching through cardstock. You know what I mean? So, all right. So once you've opened up those holes, now we're going to cut a slit. And I hope you can see from that distance what I'm doing. It's pretty far. I wonder if I can zoom in. I'm gonna try. I don't know if I can. I don't think so. I'd have to do it with the camera. All right, well, we'll just live with it, and I'll show you. I'll do it, and hopefully you can see. Maybe you can zoom in to this part. But what I'm gonna do is I'm using my triangle or my ruler, and I really want, this is where I don't want that corked because it'll hold it up. So you need the piece to be right next to what you're gonna cut. You want the metal right next to it. So I'm actually just putting the metal right next to those little bumps that I just made as I push through. And then I'm cutting at the top of that circle to the top of the next one. So it's a little hole, but it's, you know, I'm calling it a circle because it is. And then I'm going to cut from one end to the other, like a cross like that. And then I'm going to rotate this so I can do it with my right hand. And again, on this side, I'm cutting from the top of one hole to the top of the other one. I'm going through a couple of times, and then I'm going to take out that material. So you're not just cutting a slit, like just a single cut, you're actually cutting a width of material out of there. You can see that. And I'm just taking my knife and sort of getting in there and pushing the material through, and that'll kind of get better as I sew it. It'll get cleaner, but you can see that slit now. And so I'm going to do that all the way down. I'll demonstrate one more on camera, and then I'll stop the video so you can and you can go do yours, and this will be done. So again, I'm just pushing the triangle up against the side of those little bumps, and I cut 1, 2 times through, and then flip it over, come at it from this side, and I go 1, 2 times through. Sometimes that material will kind of get piled up, and I'll have to kind of clear it out a little bit. Sometimes it's just holding on. It didn't get cut all the way through. So like on that side, I can still see, and I can clean that up. Okay, so that's what you're going to do, and you're going to do it for the other 3 stations. And then I will come back and show you how to do the next step. Actually, I think I'm going to complete the cover. I'm going to stop this video. I think other people in class, a few people, I shouldn't say other, a few people have said that they like the abbreviated videos where it's like, oh, let me just do this. I can do this 15 minutes of work or whatever it is, or 20, and then stop, come back and do the next step. And that's good. I mean, I kind of thought people can just pause a video, but I guess it is kind of more convenient to have a stopping point. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to create this cover, and then I'll show you how to convert this into the punching jig for your sections, and we'll do that. And then we will come back in another video, and I'll sew the book, and that's going to be the final step, that and then trimming the covers. Okay, so you're going to go and cut. Maybe I'll just do one more since I'm talking longer, and you don't have to watch this. You can stop, because I am going to stop it after this. So I'll do one more cut. Sharp, make sure you have a sharp blade when you're doing this. And you're really just cutting the width of those holes. And because I layered 2 pieces together, you can really see it. Sometimes if I don't cut all the way through, you can really see that. Okay. All right, so you're going to have 5 of those stations. You can see I'm kind of getting better at it as I go down. That first one wasn't as clean, but I can go back and clean that up. All right, so finish cutting your slits in the cover, and then we'll come back and we'll punch, and then we'll come back again and sew. All right.